All right, so we are on lesson 4, bubble 1, and it talks about this planning page, this project guide. And it gives you options to download it, but if you go to Google Classroom, assignment number 4, lesson 4 here, I already have it uploaded for you. So that's the one you should open. You should be able to work on it. It's a live document. You can turn that in when you're done with it, and it looks like this. And it's called the project guide. I think sometimes this requires a little bit of explanation because I think it's a little maybe over lofty for what you're designing here. So step 1 is defining your goal, right? So it says, what personal value would you like to share with the world? Really, it's just talking about what do you want to share with the world, right? What information do you want to share with the world? Do you want to share your love of cooking, your love of hiking, your love of sports? And this is really you just coming up with your topic. So this is not really meant to take a huge amount of time. It's think of something that you like, make a web page about it. And it does not need to be like this big, huge web page. So for example, I really like hiking, right? So I'm going to say, what personal value would I share with the world? And say, I like hiking in the Chicagoland area in the outdoors. That's it. That's good, right? If you're into football, you can say, I'm really into football and I want to share my thoughts about the top quarterbacks. Or I really enjoy cooking. I want to share a few of my favorite recipes. Or I really am into dance or gymnastics or baseball or video games or watching TV. Quite literally, almost anything that it is that you do, you can make a web page about it, just sharing it, right? And maybe it'll make a little more sense as we go along here. So that's what that one is. Because I think it sounds a little lofty saying, oh, here's the personal value that you're sharing. It's really just, all right, so this is what topic you want to share, right? And then how can your webpage design communicate that personal value? And I would just talk a little bit more. I'm going to use my example of hiking trails. And just say, I'm going to share my personal opinion of the top hiking trails in my area that I've enjoyed, right? And then down here, it says what content is important to include in your webpage. I'm going to share the name of the trail, where it is, maybe a short little description about it, and like its difficulty level, and give it a rating, and maybe talk about its surface. Like a lot of times, if you look up hiking trails, you want to know if it's paved or if it's got gravel or if it's a natural trail, which means it's just dirt. That's what I would include, right? So this is sort of you brainstorming the idea of your website. If you're going to share information about, let's say you want to share your favorite 3 quarterbacks, right? Maybe you would say, I would share my quarterback's name, what team he plays for, maybe a little sentence about him, maybe his stats, maybe where he went to college, what city he's from, things like that, right? So information that you could look, some of the stuff you might just know off the top of your head, or it's a real quick 30-second Google search, right? So this is not meant to be a whole bunch of research or anything like that. And then when you get down here, you talk about kind of thinking about how would you organize this. I'm going to organize it by trail. You might organize it as by athlete or by team or however it is. So again, just sort of brainstorming about how you want to organize it. This area here where you're sketching your page or you're sketching your idea, I would do this on a piece of paper, kind of just, all right, what things would I include? Okay, I'm going to include this, that, or the other thing. I'm going to include the name, the rating, the surface, the difficulty, things like that. If you are somebody who is looking on the camera here, here's my idea of what I did. I just said, you know what? I'm going to do trails. One of them is going to be the Knobstone Trail. It's going to.
You can't see it because.
Oh, you can't see my camera? How about now? Oh, you know what? I think it's because my virtual background. Let me turn off my virtual background. There you go. So it looks like this, right? Trails, knowledge, all that kind of stuff, right? And this is just my real rough sketch of what my page will look like. And you'll see how that kind of comes out to play here in a moment, okay? So that's essentially what this is. It's, I want you to try and design it right. things like that. What HTML tags do you need for your page? You know, you're going to want H tags, your header tags, you're going to want paragraph tags, things like that. We've only really learned 2 tags here at this point. But that's essentially what your initial planning page is going to be. So you might actually start and kind of come back to this to really parse out what your planning page is going to look like. But I would do that first, because really it's hard to start coding before you even know what you're going to code. Okay. So we're on to the next one here. And if you go into Bubble 2, it shows you a lot of different tags here. I would say the newest one is going to be line breaks. Now you can do this one of 2 ways. You can go through all 6 of these if you want to. And really it will make you really versed and kind of an expert at these tags. Paragraph tags, how do those work exactly? Right? Heading tags, how do those work exactly? I would say A, B, C, D, E. But if you feel like you have a pretty good understanding of how those tags work, I would at least go into line breaks, which is letter F. And I'll show you what that looks like. And I think I already did this example, so it might have some coding already typed in. It does. All right. So what it did here is it gave you a paragraph of text. I believe it looks something like this. All right. And let me get rid of all this extra junk that I put in here previously. So if I have a string of text right here and I surround it by paragraph tags, it just goes in a row, right? And I already know previously, if I want to close this off and say, you know what, end my paragraph here, it will create separate lines for these. Here you go. Let me refresh it and you can kind of see what it looks like, right? So they're almost like double spaced. They're on separate lines, but really those are meant for paragraphs of text because it creates that sort of gap in there, right? That blank line. And that looks perfect when they're paragraphs. But let's say I want those to be on separate lines, but I don't want them to have that big space in between them. So I'm going to remove those. I'm going to go ahead and refresh it so you can see what the resulting text looks like. I instead want scrolling through my phone, the internet connects us, and for better or worse, to be on 3 separate lines, but I don't want that big, huge space in there. So how do I do that? And that's where you can use something called a break, right? And the way you do that, and it's one of the only ones you don't close, you just put it at the beginning of each of these. So I'm going to type break, break, break. All right. And if you scroll down, it actually tells you to do that right here. This is one of the few tags that doesn't tell you to stop because you're not really telling the computer, hey, here's the beginning of the paragraph or the end of the paragraph, or here's the beginning of the header and the end of the header. You're just telling the computer, break the line, which means press enter, essentially, right? So if I were to refresh, you'll see the result is 3 separate lines, but now they are right next to each other, more similar to what would happen if you just pressed enter. Without having it be an entirely new paragraph, it's just a new line of text. Okay, so it's a break or a line break. All right. So if I recommend one out of these number 2s to do this review, it would be the one that talks about line breaks. All right, and give it a whirl, see how it works, so you can see how that one particular sort of unique code or tag works. So I'm going to go ahead and finish that. Brings me back over here. You can see I finished that one. So I'm going to want to see that you at least tried one of these. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and finish it. And I'm going to jump to number 3 here, or bubble number 3. It asks me a little question here, or it doesn't ask me a question. It's showing me and letting me choose one of these 2 activities. Now I'm going to show you how you can kind of do both of them in one. So I'm going to jump over to ordered list because I think I already did a bulleted list. So I'm going to do an ordered list. I'm going to jump into this one. And it gives me the instructions on how to use this thing called an ordered list. Okay, and you have the option of an ordered list or an unordered list. Unordered is UL, ordered list is OL. And really the only difference is they're both lists, just one of them has bullets and one of them has numbers. Okay, so for example, if I go down here, and this is, I think, kind of hard because it's not really showing you You could expand this. It'll give you more directions, right? But I think this video is going to kind of help you here. So I've got 5 reasons a turtle is the best friend. And I want to put a list here. I want to break these into a list, and I want numbers to be in front of them. Now, I could type numbers in front of them and do it that way, but I want it to be sort of organized automatically, if you will. So I'm going to start out with an ordered list tag. So you can see OL is the beginning of my tag. And I'm actually going to go down here at the bottom, and I'm going to close out that tag right away. So here's the beginning of my ordered list, and here's the end of my ordered list. Now, if I hit refresh, it doesn't do anything because I still need to tell it where each list item is, where it starts and where it ends. And list item means it's sort of like the lines, right? So for example, they are cute is my first list item, and it starts there and it ends there. And you can see right away, oh, it did it. All right. So if I were to read this code, it says, okay, here's an ordered list. Here's my first list item. They are cute. Here's my next list item. They're easy to take care of. And I'm going to end my list item there. And then I'm going to start my next list item. Oop. All right. And then I'm going to end my list item. And that's all I'm doing is putting a starting or an opening list item tag and an ending or closing list item tag in front of and behind each of these items. And you can see as I was typing those in, they were ordering themselves right here. All right. Now, here's a little trick. This is an ordered list, right? So this tag, this block of text right here is what's creating this ordered list, this numbered list. If I want to make this bulleted, that's called an unordered list. So you change this OL to a UL, and immediately they turn into bullets. And that's the quickest way to do it because you've said these are list items, LI, 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 right? Those are list items. But the only thing that says what type of list it is, whether it's an ordered list or an unordered list, is this tag at the beginning and end around that list. All right. So again, this is an unordered list. It says UL. This is an ordered list. These are OLs, and that's what makes it numbered. Okay. That's the difference between making 2 different lists. So try that. Give that a try. Go ahead and finish that. Now, we are ready to on bubble number 4. This is where you're going to put your plan into action, and you're going to actually create your web page. So if you remember, I have this page here that I've done as my sort of my outline of what my website's going to be. And at the top of my website is going to be my title. And the number one hint I can do or tell you here, and this is the mistake that I see a lot of students do, is they start their website in the wrong spot. Now, I don't know why it is because you've seen this before, but just remember, everything you type on your page that you want to have appear on your page has to be between these 2 body tags. So it has to be after this first body tag, but before that last closing body tag. So right now I have lines 6, 7, and 8. Of course, I can press enter to create more lines, but as long as I start under there, it works perfect. So I'm going to start off with an H1 tag because that's the size of most titles, right? And I'm going to call this my top 3 hiking trails in Chicagoland area. And then I'm going to end my H1 tag. Oop, that's end
I
one.
think number 1 should be the Michigan, the dunes.
Oh, I could put that one in there. I could put that one in there too. So I got a lot of hiking trails. So I love the dunes, Indiana dunes, Michigan dunes. They got a lot of cool ones there, right? I'm gonna stick with sort of ones that are in the woods. I just have as my top 3 here. And they're actually closer than the dunes. So I've got top 3. And then one of my very first ones here is called the Knobstone Trail. And it's actually in Indiana. And I'm going to put that as a, H2 because it's sort of my subtitle, right? And that's the way I'd done it on here. And then I'm going to do a little paragraph You know what? I'm going to do what state is it in or what city? So I'm going to go ahead and do an H3 of Indiana. Right.
The
And then I have a
dunes
little,
are now a national park.
yeah, I saw that. They just got added to the National Park Registry, which was awesome. All right. And then this one is the Knobstone Trail. So this one is actually an unofficial trail. It actually goes about 80 miles all the way through Indiana, from north of Indianapolis and then almost all the way down to Kentucky, where you can see Louisville. Actually, if you're at the top, you can actually look over the river and see Louisville, which is crazy. But this trail covers 80 miles, goes through whatever facts I found out about it, right? And it could be different facts now. And I'm looking over here at my live preview. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to real quick type in also an ordered list. Remember, I wanted to do, actually, I'm going to do an unordered list. So I'm going to type UL, right? And I want to do my bulleted list. So my first list item was going to be the my rating level. So I'm going to say this one is 5 stars. And that's the end of that list item. And then I'm going to do another list item. I decided it was going to be surface. And this one happens to be natural. The whole thing is all sticks and mud and all that good stuff. And then I'm going to do a third list item. What was I going to do? Oh, a difficulty level rating. And that one is actually pretty hard because you are going through up and down these huge cliffs, right? And these bluffs. So that pops open, and then I have to end my unordered list, and there it appears. Perfect. Awesome. Great. Now, I actually already did the rest of mine here, so I'm going to copy and paste it here so you can kind of see what my finished website would look like. Almost finished website. So I'm going to paste in my other 3. And so I've got Knobstone Trail, Indiana, covers 80 miles. There's my rating, my surface, and my difficulty. Then I have Pilcher Park and Joliet. I actually don't have my rating levels and things like that, so I'm going to add that for this one. So a little trick is if you've done all this ordered list, unordered list layout, I'm just going to copy paste it and then go ahead and change the info. So it's paved, it's got 3 stars, and I'm gonna say it's easy. Pilcher Park's actually really cool. And then I'm gonna do another one here underneath the Cal-Sag trails. I'm gonna say give that a 4-star rating. I'm gonna say it is actually natural and gravel, and that one is medium. And whatever rating system I want. I mean, it's my website. I can make it say whatever I want it to, right? So there's my website. I've done it. Now, obviously, at this point, we're not adding in colors or pictures or any of that other kind of stuff. That's later lessons, okay? But this is where you're trying to get to. So possibly, let me make this full size. Little hint here. If I click this little button, I can see what this looks like. Full width. Possibly this is a nice layout for what I want my basic and my starting of my website to look like. All right. I've shared my top 3 trails. I've shared some information. I might actually add more to this, but this is a good starting point for what this should look like. And we're going to keep using this throughout our entire project where we start enhancing it and adding design and CSS. What was that, Will?
I know another good trail, and I have one question.
Well, and that's the thing about a website like this is you could keep adding and adding and adding, and that's how web pages turn into websites and turn into.
How do you change?
So when you're trying to finish up this bubble 4, this is kind of where it brings you to, all right? And if I finish that, it takes you to bubble 5, where you're just really reviewing and taking a look at the content, checking your tags again, make sure you don't have anything that's pink or red over here. For some reason, sometimes mine will add this weird JavaScript thing to the end. I usually just delete it. I think that's just a glitch. in code.org right now. But if you're looking at these, I have nothing that's pink. Everything matches over here. If this is a little hard to read, like this is all sort of jammed together, sometimes I like to add some enters in between these. Just visually, I can see now where my different sections are. Notice it doesn't affect it over here on the right at all. Right? Doesn't affect it at all over here on the right. And then there's additional little codes I could add. Let's say I want to add a line or I want to add graphics. We will get into those in future lessons. All right. So this is kind of a nice summary of what you're looking for with lesson 4, and hopefully seeing even my finished website will give you a head start on how you could start planning on your website.